Hey, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining my session. The title of today is The Battle of the AI Coding Assistants, second edition. So why is there a second edition in the title? Normally when I create a talk, it takes years and years before the content becomes outdated. This isn't the case with this talk. I started creating this talk at the beginning of this year, so let's say 9 months ago. And I gave it at many conferences and meetups. And the last one was about 5 weeks ago at DevOps Belgium. And while preparing for DevOps, the content of the talk started to feel outdated. So things in AI coding space are moving at a rapid pace. So fast that I decided to create a second edition within the first year of usage. So before I dive into the second edition, I would like to give you a small summary of the first edition, because the second edition is a logical follow-up on the first. So in the first edition, we had 3 contenders. And the first contender is tab 9. If you do not know about tab 9, don't worry. I will talk more about it later in the presentation. Second contender was Copilot from GitHub. I'm pretty sure most of you know about it. And lastly, we have JetGPT. JetGPT was introduced a year ago. Can you imagine that it was only a year ago? It feels like so much longer. But those were the 3 contenders in the first edition. And actually, there were 2 camps. In the first camp, we had tab 9 and Copilot. And both of those are IDE plugins. They run in your IDE. They use existing code as input. The fact that they are running in your IDE makes that they can read or access your existing code. And they were really good at generating code and documentation. So how did it work? When you're in your IDE, you pressed Enter, then the plugin would come up with a suggestion. Then you could accept the suggestion by pressing Tab. You could decline it by pressing Escape, or you could ask for another suggestion. And this works really fast, but it took a lot of interactions to get to the final form of your code base. You have to press Enter, Tab, type a little bit, Enter, Tab, and so on. So in the other camp, we had JetGPT. JetGPT is a chat interface in the browser. So it does not run in your IDE, it runs in your browser. Therefore, it cannot access your existing code. You have to prompt it. You have to ask it questions, or you have to give it commands. Furthermore, the fact that it has a chat interface enables unique features. You can ask the assistant questions. You can ask it for explanations. You can ask it for refactorings, or you can ask the AI to find bugs for you. And those are really unique features which the original tab 9 and Copilot couldn't provide. Unfortunately, it is slower. Because of the prompting, you first have to type a question or a command, which takes seconds. Then you have to wait for the answer, which takes up to tenths of seconds. And it becomes even worse when you take into account that you have to copy your code from your IDE to your browser and back again. So the next slide is an exact copy from the first edition. I used this slide 5 weeks ago, and I sold it as the future. So I'm really happy with all 3 IDE plugins because they make my life, I'm really happy with all the 3 AI coding assistants I just talked about because they all make my life easier. But what I really want is the best of both worlds. I want an IDE plugin with a chat interface. Why? Now, first of all, I want an IDE plugin because I don't want to copy and paste code from my IDE to my browser and back again. Secondly, I want an IDE plugin because it can access and read my existing code. But I also want a chat interface because I want the unique features I just talked about. I want to be able to ask questions. I want to be able to ask for refactorings, explanations, and I want to be able to ask the AI to find bugs for me. Luckily for me and you, everybody is heading in that direction. Everybody is building IDE plugins with chat interfaces. First, we have tab 9. Tab 9 is building something called tab 9 Chat, which is an IDE plugin with a chat interface. GitHub is building something called Copilot Chat, again, IDE plugin with chat interface. And lastly, we have JetBrains, who is building the AI assistant, also an IDE plugin with a chat interface. So everybody is building the best of both worlds. And those 3 will be the contenders of the 2nd edition. So my name is Bouke Nijhuis. I'm the CTO at a company called Sync ICT. And you can easily reach me on Twitter on the handle that's on every slide. So for the 2nd edition, we have new contenders, I just told you, but let's give a little bit more background to all 3 contenders. The first contender is Tab9 Chat, also known as Cadoda. So in 2013, an Israeli company is created called Cadoda, and they released their first plugin in 2014. I remember people talking about Cadoda at the time. I didn't use it myself, but it made a small splash in the IT community. Then, in 2019, they bought a company called Tab9. They renamed the company and the plugin to Tab9, and that's the name they use nowadays. Then this year, 2023, they introduced Tab9 Chat. So they had the original Tab9 I just talked about in the 1st edition, and now they released Tab9 Chat, an IDE plugin with a chat interface. And that is the version I'm going to use in this presentation, in the 2nd edition. On the right, you see the logo. It would be helpful if you can remember this logo, because it will be used many times during the presentation. I have a little memory aid. It's not the best one. But the logo has 9 lines, and the plugin is called Tab9. So maybe it helps. The 2nd contender is Copilot Chat from GitHub. Actually, this is a joint effort between GitHub and OpenAI. OpenAI provides the model called GPT-4, and GitHub provides the training materials, their repositories. The original Copilot was introduced in the summer of 21, so more than 2 years ago, as a technical preview. And then in the summer of 22, it became general available. Then this year, they introduced something called Copilot Chat, which is an IDE plugin with a chat interface. And that's the version we're going to use in this presentation. On the right, you see the logo of Copilot. It looks like a pilot, so I'm pretty sure everybody can make the link to Copilot. Lastly, we have the AI assistant from JetBrains. JetBrains, for people who do not know JetBrains is famous for building IDEs. They have an entire family of IDEs. Think IntelliJ, WebStorm, PyCharm, and far more. Actually, at DevVox, there was somebody from JetBrains telling how they built the AI assistant. And he told me that the AI assistant has a few small models, large language models, at the JetBrains side. They try to solve the problem, and if they are not capable, they use GPT-4 from OpenAI as a backup. So it's a hybrid model. I do not have a memory aid for the logo on the right. I don't even know how to describe it. So if somebody has a memory aid for me that I can use at the next presentation, please let me know, because I really would like to have one. The curve looks like a J. The upper curve. Ah, I like it. I like it. Very good. Thank you. Sorry. Like a brain? OK. Thank you for all the feedback. Thank you for all the feedback. I will use it next time. Thanks. So J and brain, I love it a lot. OK, where was I? 3 contenders. Those are the 3 contenders. So why did I choose those 3? This is a question I got at a previous conference, and I think it's a very good question, so let's directly address it. Now, first of all, I couldn't fit more than 3 AI coding assistants in a presentation under an hour. So the max is 3. So why did I choose Tab9? I just told you Tab9, the company, was created in 2013. So that's 10 years ago. That's a long time. And I think they were years ahead of the competition. As far as I know, they were the first to create an AI coding assistant. Furthermore, Tab9 has unique features, which I will talk about later in the presentation. Then we have Copilot. Copilot is currently the biggest name in AI coding space. Just let's check who's heard about Copilot. Quick raise of hands. I would say 70% of the people. And the last one is AI assistant from JetBrains. My favorite IDE is IntelliJ, and I think I'm not the only one. So whose favorite IDE is IntelliJ? Now, more than half of the people, so that also earns them a spot. So I just told you a few slides back that 5 weeks ago at DevOps Belgium, I had a slide with the title Future, and I sold it as the future. But now I'm selling it as present day. So things are moving fast in the AI landscape. So I want you to be aware of the constraints. This is bleeding edge technology, so if you're going to use it, at least be aware what the constraints are. So in the first column, it says waitlist. That tells you if there is a waitlist. The second column tells you if it works in Microsoft IDEs. So think Visual Studio Code. And the last column denotes if it works in JetBrains IDEs. So I just told you they have an entire family of IDEs, and this shows you if it will work over there. So Tab9 Chat currently has a waitlist. What does that mean? You have to apply, you have to send your email address, and they will get back to you once they have a spot for you. But it works on Microsoft and JetBrains IDEs, so you can choose. Copilot Chat doesn't have a waitlist anymore. They removed this restriction about 6 weeks ago. So if you have a Copilot subscription, you can use Copilot Chat at this very moment. It only works on the Microsoft IDEs right now, because they already said they will also bring the technology to JetBrains IDEs. They didn't specify when. And lastly, we have AI assistants from JetBrains who does have a waiting list. It doesn't work on Microsoft IDEs, but I assume they're not going to bring it over there. But it does, of course, work on their own IDEs. OK, let's talk about the differences between the AI coding assistants. I'm Dutch. Dutch people are famous for being cheap, so we should talk about costs. Let's start with a little asterisk behind Tab9 Chat and Copilot Chat. Tab9 and Copilot both provide individual and business plans. In this presentation, I'm going to focus on the individual plan. If there are interesting features in the business plan, I will also talk about it, but I will clearly show you that it's part of the business plan and that you have to pay extra. So Tab9 Chat costs you 15 euros a month if you pay per month. If you pay a year upfront, you get a discount of about 2.5 months. Copilot costs you 10 euros a month. But again, if you pay a year upfront, you get a discount of exactly 2 months. And AI Assistant currently doesn't have a pricing plan. That means it's currently for free, but it's free because to use AI Assistant, you have to have a subscription of a JetBrains IDE. And that costs money, of course. So demo time. Let's create some code. Before I dive into the demo, I want to address a few points. And the first one is, I'm going to do all demos in Java. First of all, because Java is the language I'm most familiar with, but also this is J-full. So I think that's a logical choice. If you are not familiar with Java, don't worry. I'm going to try to keep a high-level overview. Therefore, if you know any other programming language, you should be fine. You should be capable of following along. Secondly, the fact that I'm doing the demos in Java doesn't mean it only works in Java. It works in every other major programming language out there. And lastly, and probably most importantly, doing live coding demos is kind of tricky. There's always the chance of things going wrong. This chance is increased by the fact that I need an internet connection. All the AIs run in the cloud. And lastly, I do not exactly know what the AI is going to come up with. So every time when I rehearse for this talk, something new happens. Something breaks. OK. So don't expect flawless demos. If something horribly goes wrong, don't worry. I have backup movies. So I can show you with a movie what I wanted to show you with live coding. OK. The first one that we're going to use is Tab9. Remember, the logo, bottom right, I have 3 different IDEs. And every IDE has in the bottom right the logo, and in the top left, the project name is the name of the assistant. So even when you fall asleep and wake up, you know in which IDE I will be coding. The thing that we're going to do is prime number generation. Why prime number generation? Finding a topic for live coding can be tricky. It shouldn't be too easy, because then you, the audience, thinks, come on, Bouke, I can do this with my eyes closed. But it also shouldn't be too hard, because then it's difficult to follow. And I think prime number generation is exactly in the middle. It hits the sweet spot. Everybody knows what a prime number is. Everybody knows how to check if something is a prime number. And most of you know how to generate them. So I have a class called prime number generator. Then this piece of documentation over here, for people who are not familiar with Java, this is called Javadoc. This is how we comment our methods. Comment. What does it say? it says generate prime numbers up to a given number. There should be one parameter called n, which is the upper bound of the prime numbers to generate. Lastly, it should return a list of prime numbers. Now, pretty good as far as documentation goes. I'm first going to show you the old way of working. So how did it work in the original Tab9, so you can appreciate the new way even more. Also, during the introduction, I told you it worked. You press Enter, and you wait for a proposal. You can accept this proposal by pressing Tab, press Enter again, another proposal, you can accept it. This is the old way. This is how we did it in the past, in the first edition, in the beginning of the year. So I told you we're not going to do this. This is old way. This is how we did it last month. So let's do the new way, and we are going to use the chat interface. I showed you this as well, and then my machine froze. That's not true. I typed this as well, and then there was a panel on the right. So Tab9 will generate your code. And then what I normally do, I select the code in the editor. I will do, like in the video. Yes, very good, Bouke. And then I press Insert, and it will replace the code in your editor. And like I told you before, we're not going to focus on the code. We're going to keep a high-level overview. And as you can see, normally I would scroll through the code, but there are only two methods, but I'm missing a main method. What I want to do, I want to run the code and then look at the output. That's the level we're going to do. So I ask Tab9, please add a main method. And if you do that, Tab9 is going to create new code. I'm going to select all the code in the middle, in the editor, and I'm going to press Insert again. Oh, that goes a bit quick. No, it doesn't matter. One of the things I wanted to tell you at this spot is that a week ago, Tab9 did not support diffs. If you now look closely at the screen, you don't see it again. You don't see it anymore because it's in the earlier part of the presentation, but you just saw a diff. So Tab9 also supports diffs right now. I'll tell more about that later in the presentation. So now we have a main method. We're going to run our code, and if you do that, you can see, probably I will select it. I don't select it. Yeah. Tab9 was capable of generating prime numbers, and it generates them up till to 20. OK, I'm going to one more try. I'm really going to, let's see if it works. I'm going to do a live coding demo with Copilot. So Copilot has a similar system. It also supports the old way of just pressing Enter and waiting for a proposal, but you can also get a... OK, the shortcut is broken. Yeah, you see something, but not. I see something as well, but not the thing that I want to see. What I want to see, I don't know how to get it back, actually. Normally, I press Command-I, and then it's there. Now, unfortunately, this is not going to work. Luckily, I have a video for this as well, so let's do the video. So Copilot, it looks like this. And if I press play, let's increase it a little bit for speed. So this is the pop-up I was expecting. Doesn't work anymore, I'm not sure why. But you can just type your prompt in here. So I type, please implement this class. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. That's the fun fact of videos, you can speed them up. And then the first thing that you notice, there is no pop-up, there's no panel on the right. Copilot just gives you directly a diff, which is a great way to work. Again, I forgot to ask for a main method. So I'm changing the prompt. You cannot see it because it's behind the thingy, but I said, and add a main method. Then it added a main method. I accepted the diff, and when I run the main method, I get an error. Can I move this thing? I don't know how. There's an error underneath this box. What happens sometimes with Copilot that it adds an extra accolade. Now, of course, you can easily fix that as a human. So you work together to get great software. There's a main method. I run the main method. And if you do that, you see in the bottom, it generates the prime numbers up till 100. So also Copilot is really capable of generating a program that can generate prime numbers. OK, we're going to do one more try for live coding. So now we go to the AI assistant. Let me kill this one, because it's not going to work anyway. AI assistant from JetBrains. Let me make it bigger. So a week ago, I would have told you that AI assistant doesn't support pressing Enter and waiting for a suggestion. But then last Monday, I was testing for this presentation, and this happened. It suddenly gave me code. So things are really moving at a very rapid pace when talking about AI coding assistants. But hey, this is the second edition. We're not going to do this. We're going to use the new interface. Hey, it works. Yay, something works. So what I'm going to do, yeah, thank you. Generate code, please implement this class. And again, you see you get a div, which is a nice way of working. It shows you the new code. And again, I forgot to add that I wanted the main method. And this is my mistake, right? So the AI gives me code that I ask for. Let me show you first. I'm first going to type this. If you want to change something to the original prompt with the AI assistant, you can press specify, and then you say, please add a main method. If you do that, it will regenerate, and it will add the main method probably at the bottom. It normally does. So one of the things I wanted to tell you, but I forgot because a lot of things went wrong, is if the AI comes up with something you do not really like, you probably haven't been specific enough. And that's also the case over here. So I want a class that generates prime numbers, but I also want a main method. But I didn't ask for a main method, so I haven't been specific enough. So I'm going to accept. Uh-oh, who knows what's happening? No cursor. Yeah, there's a cursor. Not on my screen, though, and everybody knows how this is going to end. Yeah. The video. OK, cool. I'm pretty sure it's not the live coding part that goes wrong. It is my machine or the combination with this device. Hey, a cursor. Woo! Sometimes you just have to be patient. OK, let's run the code to see what happens. I expect it to generate prime numbers up till 30. And as you can see, it generates all kinds of prime numbers up till 30. So all three AI coding assistants are pretty capable of creating a program that can generate prime numbers. So, strange slide. This slide is not true. Don't believe this slide. This is fake news. But this slide was true a week ago. So I just told, this slide is about promptless generation. So what do I mean by that? That's when you press enter or space and it comes up with a proposal. I had tab 9 and Copilot in the yes column because that's the original way how it worked, but they still have support this. And I had JetBrains AI assistant in the no column, but just during the demo you saw it also supports promptless generation. Wasn't true a week ago. Same here. Proposals in the form of divs. On the left in the no column we have tab 9. It didn't support divs. On the right, Copilot and AI assistant did, and this is the way to go. If you want to work together with your AI, it's really helpful if it gives you divs because you can say, I want to accept this or I want to decline this. But nowadays, all of them do it. Unfortunately, the one from tab 9 is still a bit clunky. It's not as smooth as the one from Copilot and AI Assistant, but that's logical, because AI Assistant is from JetBrains. The IDEs from JetBrains, they're tightly coupled, so they can easily access lower APIs, so they can have a nice integration. Same applies for Copilot and Visual Studio Code. They're all Microsoft-based, so they're also tightly integrated. So does it write tests? I have demos for that. Let me see how I'm doing for time. So I started at 40, so I'm at 35 minutes. So I have 15 minutes left? Yeah, then let's skip the demos. The short answer is yes, they do. I do want to show, yeah, OK. Yeah, I can tell you about it. So one of the things I didn't tell you about the AI assistants, that all three of the AI assistants support templates. So what does that mean? If you go to tab 9 and you go to the chat panel on the right, you press a /, you get templates. You get a list of things that it can do. And one of the things that it can do is generate tests. If you select that, it will generate tests. Then, unfortunately, it is not really smart because it only generates code. It doesn't generate a file, and it doesn't put the file in the right location. So what I would do, I would in IntelliJ create a unit test file, insert all the generated code from tab 9, and then we would have test cases. Sometimes it comes up with a happy flow and edge cases, but in most cases it comes up with one of the two, and you have to ask for the other one. But once you ask for the other one, it just complies and gives you all the tests. In the end, you have a happy flow and edge cases, and I think the coverage is pretty good. If you do the same with Copilot, Copilot is a little bit better because it puts the tests in a different file, but it doesn't put it in the right spot. So then you as a human have to move the file in the right spot, and if you do that, you have unit tests. Then we have AI assisted from JetBrains, and that one performs best. It puts it in a new file and puts it in the right spot. So you can directly run the tests to see what happens. In most cases, the tests are pretty good. Sometimes it comes up with a wrong test, and then you have to help it a little bit as a human. But I can unfortunately not demo that. So we're going to go to the next slide. Does it write documentation? Again, I would do demos, but for now we're not going to do it. During the demo, I would add documentation for the main methods. I would show you that tab 9 would do it perfectly. I would show you that Copilot would also do it perfectly, and that AI assistant would also perfectly generate code. And I don't know about you, but I don't really like to write documentation. Quick raise of hands. Who does not like to write documentation? More than half. That's what I expected. Luckily, we don't have to anymore, because now we have our AI coding assistant who can write documentation for us. So we can take one annoying item from our to-do list. Thank you, AI. No demo. Does it write regular expressions? Now, the short answer is yes. Luckily, I didn't have a demo in mind. So you just tell in natural language what you want, and then you ask the AI to come up with a regular expression. And it works pretty well. Sometimes it comes up with a first try, it is the exact regular expression that you need. But sometimes you have to give it some examples, give it some more context, and then it comes up with the right regular expression. Again, something I'm really happy with, because I have a small confession. I am really bad at writing regular expressions. And again, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one in the room who is not very good at writing them. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, because maybe your manager is sitting next to you. But luckily, we have the AI coding assistant who can write regular expressions for you. Another annoying task from my list. Thank you, AI. Can it explain code? Now, the short answer is yes. Actually, I think this is the best feature of AI coding assistants. This is what they do really, really well. It's uncanny how well the AI coding assistants can explain code. I once did an experiment. I had a piece of code. I removed all the names. So the method name, the variable names, I replaced everything with a single character. And I asked the AI assistant to explain it. It recognized the algorithm and explained how it worked. So it's pretty good at explaining code. Can it find bugs? Nah, short answer is not demo. The short answer is yes. Do I have? Yeah, maybe we should just try, right? Yeah? Are we feeling lucky? Yeah. OK, cool, cool. Let's try it. Very good. So what we're going to do, we're going to break this algorithm on purpose. So this over here, this number 2, is the first prime number. What we're going to say, this should be a 12. I've broken the algorithm. If I had test, I would have run the test, and the test would become red. But I don't have test, sorry for that. So I'm just going to select it. I'm going to say, find problems in selection. Let's see what it does. On the right, you get a panel that says, there's a problem. Hey, look, this is the faulty 12. And it comes up with the, whoa, that's not what we need. But it comes up with a fix for your code. Now you can copy this part, put it in your code, and it's working again. So yes, AIs are pretty capable of finding bugs in your code. I use this a lot. When I write a piece of code, I just ask the AI, can you find something? Sometimes it finds something, because I've written it and I make mistakes. But sometimes it cannot find errors, and it comes up with a suggestion. Did you think about this? Did you think about that? And it makes you think about your solution, and then afterwards you're going to change a few things, and it will become a better solution. So I like that a lot. Does it refactor code? No, short answer, yes. You can ask it to refactor code, and it will come up with something that it thinks. It doesn't really think, of course, but it comes up with something that it thinks it's better. You can also be specific, and it will do that specific refactoring for you. So, conclusion. I need 10 more minutes. Yeah, that's perfect. Excellent. So we're going to finish on time. Will AI help us doing our job? I think after seeing all the failed demos, after every failed demo, the short answer is yes in capitals. I still believe AI will help us doing our job. The thing that my demos failed has nothing to do with the AI assistants. It has to do with my laptop. It is not perfect. You did say that. So luckily for us, it still needs human supervision. So during the demos that you did see, sometimes things went wrong. I showed you a video in which the Copilot had a closing accolade too much, and you had to delete it. Normally, there are small mistakes, and then you as a human can fix it. And I really believe that you, working with your AI, you are stronger together. So what works best? For me, it works best if you keep the problem small. Remember that I talked about finding a topic for live coding, and I chose prime number generation. That's the kind of problem that works really well for me. If I give it that kind of problem, a small contained problem, it's really capable of solving it and to help you. Then, something I normally would have said a lot of times during the presentation, but now I think I only said it once. If you're not really happy with what the AI gives you, you probably haven't been specific enough. So the more specific you are, the better that the results will be. How will AI help you? I think it will be first and foremost, it will be your pair programmer. So I love to pair program with human programmers. But unfortunately, sometimes they have meetings, they are ill, they go to the toilet or on holidays. In other words, sometimes they're unavailable. This isn't the case with your AI coding assistant. It should be available most of the time. And I really believe that it can take over 80 or 90% of the things that a human pair programmer did before. And the last 10, 20% you can still do with a human pair programmer. So I really believe that you can write quality code faster together. So during the demos, you saw the AI come up with perfect solutions. You cannot beat that. Sometimes it came up with almost good solutions, and I, as a human, had to fix something. That's still a lot faster than when I have to write everything from scratch. And even when the AI messes up, it makes you think about the problem. And the more you think about the problem, the better the solution will be that you write afterwards. So I think there's an upside in every situation. Recommendations. OK, I would use the AI assistant whenever you're a JetBrains user. Sorry. That's a no-brainer. But if you're already in the JetBrains ecosystem, AI Assistant is a logical choice. It has very good IDE integration. There are a few things I didn't show you, but I think some things are like magical. Nowadays, when you get a stack trace, there's a little button that says Explain with AI Assistant, which is really, really great. They also use AI nowadays when you want to change the name of something. So think the name of a class, name of a variable, name of a method. And lastly, it does commit message generation. So no more final fix, really final fix. No, this is really going to fix it. It will generate proper commit messages for you. And it's still for free. I'm not sure how long this is going to last, but enjoy it while it lasts. So I would use Copilot, of course, when you're a Microsoft IDE user, when you're already in the ecosystem. It also has good IDE integration. All the things the examples I just gave for the JetBrains IDE are also coming to Copilot. I think last week they integrated commit message generation, so they're catching up really quick. And it is cheaper than Tabnine. Remember the slide? Tabnine was 15 euros a month. Copilot is 10 euros a month. And I like it better than Tabnine. I think the solutions that it provides are just better. So is there a case for Tabnine? Actually, there is. I would use Tabnine when security and/or privacy is an issue. Why? Tabnine has something called ephemeral processing. So your code goes to the Tabnine server. They will use your code to come up with an answer, and then they delete everything. So your code is just on the server, is deleted. They will not use it for training. And this is how it should be. I think this is the holy grail when we're talking about security and privacy. Unfortunately, with Copilot and the AI assistant, it is not as black and white. It's a little bit gray. So they always save something. They probably will not use your code for training. You can, in most cases, opt out of that, but they will store something. So the best thing when we're talking about security and privacy is staying offline. If you do not put your code on the internet, it's also very hard to leak. The original Tabnine assistant supported offline mode. The new one, the Tabnine Chat, does not. But they do have the next best thing, and that is self-hosting. You can run the Tabnine servers in your own network. That means that your data stays in your own network boundary, and therefore it doesn't go to the internet. And that's a lot safer. than sending your code to the internet. Notice that this is part of the business plan. So if you want to use this feature, you have to pay extra. Lastly, you can create your own model. You can train the model on your own repositories. And that means that the answers that the AI will give are tailored to your code base, which is, of course, much better than a generic code base. Again, this is part of the business plan, so you have to pay extra. So I have a closing question for you. Will AI take over our jobs? And for now, we're going to assume that our jobs are software engineering. Who thinks that AI will take over software engineering jobs? I see a few hands, but I would say less than 10. I kindly disagree. I think AI will not take over our jobs in the foreseeable future. But I want you to think about the following. AI will not take over your job, but somebody using AI will. And so the point I try to make with this slide is, if you're not using AI, start using it. It's good for your job security. So, questions, I prefer questions. I don't like questions for the entire room. So if you have questions, please come down here, ask questions, and we can have personal interaction. Also, when I'm walking somewhere, you can just walk up to me and ask me questions. I do not bite. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for helping me through the difficult time with the demos. I hope everybody learned something new. Feedback is more than welcome. Please give me feedback in the app or just face-to-face, or send me a message on Twitter. I love it. Enjoy the remainder of the conference. Thank you, people.